about Bali? Just saying the name, it conjures up so many different visions, doesn't it?
It really does.
For some people, it's that, perfect island paradise. For others, maybe it's more about a journey, self-discovery.
Right, the whole eat, pray, love idea,
Huh.
which, well, it's a bit of a cliche now, maybe.
It is a bit, yeah.
Yeah.
But then you've got honeymooners and that huge community of digital nomads setting up shop there, too.
Exactly. It draws such a mix. But beyond those images, peel it back, and it's still this incredibly beautiful island, and surprisingly affordable, too, sometimes.
Yeah, surprisingly affordable, which is kind of what we want to dig into.
Mm-hmm.
So for this deep dive, we've looked at a few different sources, some detailed travel guides, some websites really breaking down the costs.
Getting into the nitty-gritty.
Right. And the goal is pretty simple. Give you a solid, insightful look at Bali. Whether you're actually planning a trip or just curious, we want to pull out the key info so you feel genuinely informed, quickly and thoroughly, but without it feeling like homework.
Exactly. If you like those aha moments, getting different perspectives to really understand a place, well, that's what we're aiming for, balancing the big picture with those little details that, stick with you.
Okay, perfect. So let's dive in. What is there actually to do in Bali? Because the list seems, well, huge. Getting in the water seems like a big one.
Oh, definitely. Bali's got a massive reputation for diving and snorkeling. The coral reefs are apparently teeming with life, loads of different fish.
Any specific spots that stand out?
Yeah, the Liberty Wreck is mentioned a lot. It's a sunken U.S. cargo ship, now basically an artificial reef, absolutely covered in marine life. And then there's Manta Point off Nusa Penida.
Manta rays.
Seriously.
Yeah, pretty much guaranteed encounters, apparently. And if you're really lucky and you go between July and October, you might even spot the mola mola, the ocean sunfish.
Wow. Okay. That sounds incredible. Is it expensive? And you mentioned Nusa Penida's diving cheaper off the smaller islands, maybe. Good question. Our sources do suggest that, yeah, diving around Nusa Lembongan can be a bit more budget-friendly than from the main island. To give you a ballpark figure, you're looking at least 1,500,000 Indonesian rupiah for a 2-tank dive.
Which is about, what, $100 US?
Roughly, yeah.
Yeah.
Around that mark.
Okay. So moving from underwater, temples. It sounds like they are literally everywhere in Bali.
That's absolutely right. Temples are just woven into the fabric of the island. There are these 9 directional temples, apparently really important pilgrimage sites spread out across Bali.
Directional temples. Interesting.
Yeah, and then you have the big one, the Saki Temple. They call it the Mother Temple. It's this huge complex.
And that's the one on the volcano, Mount Agung.
Exactly, on the slopes of Mount Agung, which, yeah, is an active volcano. The Saki isn't just one building. It's like over 80 temples and shrines altogether. It's massive.
Visiting a temple complex on an active volcano sounds pretty intense. Anything practical to know if you want to go?
Definitely. Getting there takes a few hours, so the guided tour is probably the easiest way. They start around 320,000 rupiah per person.
About 21 ween USD.
Yeah. And remember, Mount Agung is sacred, so sometimes access to certain areas or even the temple itself during ceremonies might be restricted. Always good to check.
Okay. Now, one guide mentioned Nusa Lembongan as an escape from the craziness of mainland Bali. What's it like over there?
Nusa Lembongan definitely has a more chilled-out vibe. It's connected to Nusa Singingan, which is even smaller, by this cool yellow footbridge. People take pictures there all the time.
Right.
The beaches aren't maybe the main draw, but it's got good surfing, and like you said, the diving's a bit cheaper.
Yeah.
Lots of locals go there for a quiet break, apparently.
A quieter pace. Sounds nice. But if you do want that cultural immersion, Ubud seems to be the spot, right? Even though it's busy.
Yeah, you've nailed it. Ubud gets crowded, no doubt. But it really is the cultural heart. You've got the temples, historical sites, those amazing traditional dance shows, like the Kikak fire dance, and the food scene is incredible.
And the rice terraces. De Galang.
Oh, yeah, iconic. Those beautiful stepped patties. You wander through them, chat with local farmers, see artisans at work. It's pretty special.
And for the early birds, hiking Mount Batur for sunrise, that sounds like a classic Bali experience.
It really is. Mount Batur is about 1,700 meters high, so not Everest or anything. The hike up takes a couple hours, usually before dawn.
So you get the sunrise view from the top?
Exactly. Breathtaking views. But it's mandatory to have a local guide. Costs around 400,000 rupiah per person.
About 27 Doi USD. For safety and supporting locals, I guess.
Precisely.
Okay, what about adventure sports? For the adrenaline junkies out there.
Oh, Bali's got loads. Paragliding, incredible views, about 650,000 rupiah for a tandem flight.
Wow, that's about $43 USD.
Uh,
Seems reasonable.
Yeah, things are often quite affordable compared to elsewhere. You've also got whitewater rafting, hiking, mountain biking, ATV tours, horseback riding, jungle trekking, even zip lining. Though that can be a bit pricier, maybe around 1.3 million rupiah.
So lots to get the heart pumping, and after all that, maybe some relaxation, hot springs.
Yes, several natural hot springs around. Some near Lake Batur up in the mountains, amazing views. Others like Air Banjar up north near Lavina, sit in these lush gardens.
Sounds lovely. How much to get in?
Usually pretty reasonable, around 200,000 rupiah, maybe $13 USD. They say soaking in the mineral water is really energizing.
And you can't talk Bali without mentioning spas, right?
Absolutely not. Bali is famous for wellness. The Balinese massage is world-renowned, that unique mix of techniques. Lots of treatments use local herbs and spices too.
Affordable?
Generally, yeah. Starts around that same 200,000 rupiah mark for a massage. Maybe even less if you find someone on the beach. Great value.
Okay, now for something completely different. Kuta. One guide called it Bali's Tijuana. That paints a picture.
It certainly does. Kuta is definitely the main budget party zone. Think narrow streets, stalls selling knockoff stuff, tons of hostels and bars. Caters mostly to young backpackers looking for cheap nightlife.
So lively. Maybe chaotic.
Yeah, one of our sources really wasn't a fan, found it chaotic. But hey, if you're young, on a budget, and want a party, that's the spot.
Right. Okay, shifting gears again. Monkeys. The Ubud Monkey Forest.
Ah, yes. A very popular spot. It's a nature reserve. And there are secret temples inside, too. It gets busy, though.
And the monkeys. Friendly.
Approach with caution.
Mm-hmm.
The main advice is don't feed them. It makes them bold, sometimes aggressive. Just observe them. Entry is about 80,000 rupiah.
Good tip. Now here's something unusual. Buffalo racing. In Negara.
Yeah, this sounds amazing. It happens
Yeah.
in West Bali every second Sunday from July to October. Starts super early, like 7 a.m. Farmers race water buffaloes pulling these traditional plows.
Wow. Sounds like a real local spectacle.
Totally. But Negara is a bit out of the way, so you'd probably need to stay overnight nearby because of the early start. Definitely off the main tourist track.
Cool. And for something calmer, yoga. Bali's huge for yoga, isn't it?
Oh, massive. It's like a global hub. You've got world-class retreat centers everywhere. You can do drop-in classes, multi-day retreats.
How much are we talking?
Drop-in classes are pretty affordable, maybe 150,000 rupiah, around $10 USD. Retreats obviously cost more, maybe 4,750,000 IDR for 3 days. And teacher training is a big investment, upwards of 40 million rupiah for a 200-hour course.
Okay. And surfing. Can't forget surfing.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
Major surfing destination, spots for all levels, from beginners in Kuta to pros at Uluwatu.
Easy to rent boards and get lessons.
Super easy. Board rental is about 150,000 rupiah a day. A 1-hour lesson with a board included might be around 350,000 rupiah.
Around 23 USD. Seems like a good deal to try it out.
Yeah, definitely.
And what about food? Beyond just eating out, can you learn to cook Balinese food?
Absolutely. The food scene is great, but taking a cooking class is brilliant. Learn to make proper nasi goreng, satay, sambal.
Yum. How long are the classes?
Varies. Some are just a couple of hours. Others are full-day things with a market visit. Prices start around that 350,000 rupiah mark again, maybe 23 USD.
Okay, this next one feels important. Beach cleanups. One source mentioned the trash problem.
Yeah, it's a sad reality. Plastic pollution is a big issue, and some beaches can get quite bad. Joining a cleanup is a fantastic way to give back.
Are they easy to find?
Seems like it. There are regular ones organized locally, and then there's a huge island-wide one in February called One Island, One Voice. A really positive thing to get involved in.
Definitely. Okay, quick recap of some other sites mentioned. Gate of Heaven.
Yep, Lembugyan Temple. Iconic photo spot. Costs about $10 to get the photo set up, apparently. Waterbomb Bali Water Park, $25. Snorkeling trips, around $40.
Tanalat Temple. Uluwatu.
Tanalat is about $5 entry. Uluwatu, maybe $2. And Mount Batur hike itself, separate from the guide, is around $20 entry.
Good to have those figures. And the advice about watching impromptu temple processions.
Great advice. Those spontaneous moments can be the most authentic cultural experiences. Ubud is definitely the cultural hub, but the Jatiluwi rice fields are also mentioned as stunning.
And the beaches down south, Kuta, Seminyak, Canggu.
Yeah, each with a different vibe. Canggu seems popular with budget travelers and digital nomads these days, and Uluwatu Temple gets another mention for the views, the dance shows, and,
The monkeys again.
the monkeys again. Always watch your belongings.
Okay, that's an incredible range of things to do. Phew. Let's shift to something really crucial. Staying safe. How safe is Bali?
Generally, pretty safe. especially for backpackers and solo travelers. Violent crime is rare.
What's the main thing to watch out for?
Petty theft, bag snatching, pickpocketing, especially in crowded places or on transport. Just the usual vigilance needed. Keep valuables secure.
And for solo female travelers, any specific advice?
The consensus is that it's generally safe, but standard precautions always apply. Don't leave drinks unattended, avoid walking alone late at night if you feel uncomfortable, trust your gut, the usual stuff.
Okay. What about money? Credit card fraud?
Yeah, that does get mentioned as a potential issue. The advice is pretty clear. Use cash where you can, especially smaller places like local warungs.
And ATMs?
If you need one, try to use machines inside actual bank branches. Less risk of skimming devices. And maybe don't carry all your cash at once. Split it up.
Makes sense. Taxis, we hear stories sometimes.
Main thing is, make sure the meter is on. If not, agree on the price before you set off. Bluebird taxis are consistently recommended as reliable. They even have an app.
What about Uber or Grab?
They exist, yeah. Sometimes called Gojek, too, especially for motorbike taxis. Availability can be patchy in some areas, and sometimes they might actually be pricier than a metered Bluebird. Worth checking. But again, if anything feels off, just get out.
And travel insurance, non-negotiable.
Absolutely. Illness, injury, theft, cancellations. You just need that safety net. Always get travel insurance.
Right. Accessing cash is easy enough in the main towns like Ubud, Congo.
Yeah, ATMs are pretty readily available in tourist areas. Just remember, cash is king in smaller places, local restaurants, markets. Bigger places, hotels, fancier restaurants will usually take cards.
And a final safety point.
Yeah.
Motorbikes. Renting them is popular, but risky.
Very popular, but yeah, definitely risky if you're not experienced. Road safety can be a concern. Accidents involving tourists on scooters are unfortunately common. If you're not confident, stick to taxis or ride shares. Seriously.
Okay, good advice. So we know how to stay safe. Now, where do we sleep? What are the options?
So many options. Everything from really social, fun hostels and guest houses to luxury villas. Lots of choice.
Any specific hostel recommendations came up?
Yeah, one source mentioned Tribal Bali in Canggu, Haiti Backpackers House in Ubud, Kemimai Hostel also in Ubud, Warung Koko in Kuta. A few options known for being good spots to meet people.
And price-wise, what's the range? From a dorm bed up to something nicer?
Yeah, let's break it down. Hostel dorms, you can find something for maybe 55,000 rupiah, that's like $4 USD, up to maybe 200,000, so $13 USD.
Wow, that's cheap.
Yeah. Budget hotels, maybe 375,000 to 800,000 rupiah a night, 25.53 USD. Airbnb, you can find private rooms from around 180,000, $12 USD, or whole apartments, maybe starting at 350,000, 23 USD.
And average hotel rooms, say for a couple.
One source put the average double room at about 81 USD in low season, jumping up to $151 in peak season.
Big difference.
Yeah. Another way to look at it daily. Budget traveler might spend $14 on accommodation, mid-range maybe $41, luxury $137 plus. It's worth noting, Bali isn't just about hostels, maybe more known for guest houses and small hotels compared to other backpacker places.
Any tips for getting better deals on places to stay?
Sure. Staying a bit outside the main drags, Seminyak, Central Ubud, can save you quite a bit. If you're staying longer, like a week or more, renting a villa or apartment can work out cheaper per night. And definitely travel in the shoulder season, like May or September, or the low season for better prices.
Okay, let's get down to brass tacks. Overall costs. How much should you budget per day? Bali has this reputation for being cheap, but what's realistic?
It really depends on how you travel. But we've got some figures. The overall average daily cost seems to hover around 86,000 USD, or about 1.4 million rupiah.
But that's an average, right? What about for a backpacker?
For a real backpacker budget, one source suggests you could scrape by on about 425,000 rupiah, so around 31 USD a day. That means hostel dorms, mostly street food, maybe cooking a bit, using bikes, focusing on free activities. It's doable, but basic.
Okay. And for someone wanting a bit more comfort, mid-range.
Mid-range, you're probably looking at that average figure, around 1,100,000 rupiah, or 86 USD a day. That gets you a budget hotel or private hostel room, eating out more, maybe renting a scooter, getting some massages, doing more paid activities, a comfortable trip.
And if you want to go upscale, luxury Bali.
Then you're looking at maybe 2,350,000 rupiah, around 257 USD, or easily more per day. Nice hotels, private villas, taxis or private drivers, Western food whenever you want, all the adventure sports, fancy spas. The sky's the limit, really.
One source broke it down further. Meals, transport, hotels.
Yeah, the estimated average daily spends like $35 on meals, about $9 on local transport, and a bigger chunk, $81 on hotels. This obviously varies hugely. They also had weekly and monthly estimates. The main point is Bali can fit almost any budget.
So manage expectations. If you want super cheap, you sacrifice comforts.
Exactly. Hostel dorms, cheapest food, maybe slower transport. Mid-range at $86 seems like a good sweet spot for comfort and experiencing things. And luxury is definitely available if that's what you're after.
Got it. Now, how do we make that money go further? Any top money-saving tips?
Loads of good ones came up. Definitely bring a filtered water bottle, saves money, and cuts down plastic waste, which is a real issue there. Life straw was mentioned.
Good one. What else?
Eat local. Those warangs we mentioned. Meals for like $1 or $2. Seriously cheap and delicious. Avoid the tourist trap Western restaurants if you're saving cash.
Bargaining.
Yeah, bargain respectfully in markets and small shops. It's expected. Also, heading north on the island often means cheaper accommodation.
Transport.
Use Grab or Gojek, sometimes cheaper than taxis. Check prices. For drinks, look for happy hours or buy beers from local shops, much cheaper than bars.
And activities.
Take advantage of free stuff. Beaches, wandering rice paddies, watching sunsets, exploring villages. Travel in the shoulder or low season for better prices. Slow down your travel. Pace less. Rushing around means spending less overall. Be flexible.
Great tips. Okay, getting around. We mentioned taxis, ride shares, scooters. What else?
Well, there are the BAMOs, those little minibuses, super cheap, like 5,000 rupiah for short hops. But they can be slow and confusing for tourists.
Are there better buses?
Yeah, tourist buses like Kura or Parama are good for longer distances. Kuta to Lavina, maybe 250,000 rupiah, $70 USD. Kuta to Ubud, 100,000, $7 USD. They usually have AC, sometimes Wi-Fi. Decent option.
Bicycles.
Yep, rentals are cheap, around 50,000 rupiah, $3 USD a day. Good for local exploring.
And ferries to other islands.
Essential for island hopping. Prices vary a lot. Local ferry to Java is dirt cheap. Fast boat to Lombok, maybe 500,000 rupiah, $33 USD. To the Gili Islands, maybe 350,000 one way. Book ahead in peak season.
So public transport is okay, but maybe not super convenient everywhere.
It's decent, reaches a lot of spots. But yeah, a lot of the island isn't really built for walking between places. You'll likely need taxis, ride shares, or brave a scooter if you're experienced.
Yeah.
Hiring a BMO privately is also an option. Just be aware roads can be rough in places if you're thinking of driving a car.
Right. Last big question. When is the best time to go? Weather-wise, crowd-wise.
Okay, so it's tropical, warm all year, but you've got distinct wet and dry seasons.
Dry season is better.
Generally, yeah. April to September, less humidity, more sun, clearer skies. Best for hiking volcanoes, water sports, diving. But it's also the busiest, most expensive time.
In the rainy season.
October to March. You get rain, but often it's short, heavy downpours, then it clears up. It's still warm. The plus side is fewer crowds and lower prices.
When's the absolute peak?
July and August, definitely. And around Easter and Christmas, New Year, peak crowds, peak prices. Also remember the mountains are cooler and wetter year-round.
So maybe the shoulder seasons are the sweet spot.
Often, yeah. May and September are frequently recommended, usually still dry and sunny, but just before or after the main rush. Good compromise.
Okay, wow. We have covered a lot of ground on Bali. From diving and temples to safety, budgets, getting around. What's the main takeaway here?
I think the biggest thing is just how incredibly diverse Bali is. It really does offer something for pretty much everyone, no matter your budget. Backpacker, luxury traveler, culture vulture, beach bum. It's all there.
And getting away from the busiest spots can really change the experience, right?
Absolutely. Venturing north or to the smaller islands often means a calmer vibe and frequently lower costs. It rewards a bit of exploration.
So for you listening, thinking about all this, what parts of Bali really jump out at you? What fits your interest, your budget? Are you seeing yourself diving, doing yoga, exploring temples, or just chilling on a quieter beach?
Yeah, and maybe thinking about what's the one thing that would be your biggest deciding factor? Is it a must-do activity like surfing? A certain type of vibe like a quiet guest house versus a social hostel? Or maybe how much you want to immerse yourself in the local culture versus having Western comforts?
It's a lot to consider. Hopefully this deep dive is giving you a great starting point. We definitely encourage you to dig deeper into whatever sparked your interest. Maybe check out some of those resources we drew from.
And perhaps think about what surprised you most hearing about Bali today. Was it the cost? The range of activities?
Yeah.
The safety considerations?
Definitely food for thought. Thanks so much for joining us for this deep dive into Bali.